Manju. Last 17 years I have spent in my career in life insurance domain. I have been in business transformation, data management, insurance analytics. And I had the opportunity to see the data flow, how the process of data collection, how the data is used extensively in our life insurance company. So in our organization, we had a core team. The risk management team has actually created a core team to make this information security awareness percolate to the latest level. I mean, to the lowest level, and for the ease of implementation of this information security measures, they've created a core team, and I've been part of that core team who got certified as an ISMS. That is how I started looking at data from that perspective, and we happened to have a 2-day training from Navi sir on data privacy, which was totally new subject to all of us. And that is how I got interested. I wanted to learn more about data privacy. And I joined FDPPI as a student, not as an expert in any of this related field. And I completed this module IGA and got certified. I'm an eager student with the guidance of Navi sir. I'm thankful to all the seniors who have been helping beginners like us to know more about this industry. And so when I was in insurance analytics, I have found this life insurance company as a goldmine of customer information. There's a lot of information we collect about the customer. And as an analytics person, we always used to push management to collect more and more customer information. Because there's a lot of opportunity in profiling the customer so that we can have customized communication plans, enhanced customer service, upsell, cross-sell opportunities, ensure the quality of the business. There's a lot of opportunity. It was like a goldmine. But now, when I look at the same data from the other side of the fence, that is, of course, privacy. Now this looks like a landmine to me. So it's making me worry that do we have adequate security measures to protect this data? What was a gold mine now looks like a landmine. So I'm just trying to share the customer data, the information about the customer data, and trying to see it from a customer perspective, I mean, privacy perspective, when we have to implement this DPA. And if we have to, during the implementation of DPA, if we have to take a test case to see what all needs to be covered in DPA, I think the life insurance industry is the best test case, because there is no information which we don't collect. There's no personal information which we don't collect, except for maybe religion and political affiliation. I think we collect every other information, personal information of the customer.
You can put it on the slideshow.
Okay.
And because the inheritance laws in India are religion-based, maybe you should also collect religion data in life insurance, because at the time of settlement, that may be required.
So though we collect information about employees and agents and all, I'm just referring to the customer data here. And we collect customer data. Large part of the data is collected at the time of issuing the policy, the time of sourcing, and which is required for that underwriting process. Then throughout the customer journey, there is a lot of transactions and interactions happen throughout the journey, because a life insurance policy is taken for a longer tenure, like minimum 10 years, can go up to 25 years. So there's a lot of data accumulated during this journey. And we also take some concerted efforts to collect additional information through third-party resources. To begin with, the objective of life insurance is to provide an income replacement. It is like substituting the financial loss in the event of death. So the underwriting, we call the evaluation of that eligibility, the process is called underwriting. Underwriting is based on your income and your medical history. So if you're asking for a 50 lakhs life cover, do you require that much life cover? Because do you have enough income to substantiate that? or are you healthy enough to get this life cover? So we call it financial underwriting and medical underwriting. So this is the basics of the underwriting process when a customer applies for insurance. These are the two things we check. So the data collected at sourcing, 90% of the data is collected at the time of issuing the policy. Through the application form. It is an 8-page proposal form. Now it has got online versions, but the actual physical form has got 8 pages. It is directly sourced by the customer. So if I categorize the various information we collect under certain categories, there is this basic information and KYC, that is name, age, gender, identifying the person, and age proof is mandatory. Because your premium is depending on your age. So when you declare a certain age, you have to give an age proof, an ID proof, recent photograph. It's a KYC requirement. Then for the communication, we collect the address, email, mobile, and WhatsApp number is an opt-in option is there because WhatsApp insists on it. And payment and payout. So if the customer is using his check to make the payment, we automatically get the bank details. But even otherwise, if he is signing up for a standing instruction for the future payments, then also he has to give the entire bank details, including account, IFSC code, everything. And of late, all the insurance companies insist on this bank details, even if he has not signed up for standing instruction or he is paying that initial premium by cash. We insist on the bank details because at the time of the payout, when the maturity happens or the subsequent interim payouts happen, as I said earlier, this life insurance continues for 15, 20 years. By that time, your address you had given in the initial proposal form would have changed. You would not have updated it, or phone number not updated. So there is no way we can send the amount to you, the maturity amount to you. This is one big challenge in life insurance industry. There is thousands of crores of rupees unclaimed amount lying with different insurance companies, mostly with LIC because they have been there in the beginning. So now that is one KPI for all the companies. IRDA is monitoring it closely. We have to reduce the unclaimed amount. So as a process to circumvent that, this at the time of sourcing the policy, we collect the bank details to which this benefit has to be transferred. So the bank details is an information which we now mandatorily collect. Then there is medical underwriting. There is an entire health history asked for in the proposal form. And if you say that if there is an illness or surgery previously, then all the medical reports related to that has to be submitted. And if required, depending on the life cover you ask for or depending on the health history, you may have to undergo additional medicals. And then financial underwriting. So to ask evidence of your income, you may have to submit ITR or payslip or audited income proof. And there could be financial questionnaire, again, depending on the kind of life cover you are asking for. So this kind of, if you summarize this, every personal sensitive information is collected here. So this is a sample of the health information source. If you go through this, every minute detail of your health illness, everything is covered. Every organ is covered. Every possible illness is covered. And if you take S in any of this, then there is an additional medical questionnaire asking for more specific information. And sometimes you may have to undergo medical. It could be a simple medical examination by a physician, or it could be a test like FBS or TMT or ECG. And if the customer is female, there could be additional questions related to childbirth and pregnancy and all. So this is information required to underwrite the policy, to evaluate the eligibility of the customer to get that policy. In addition to this, there are some challenges every life insurance company faces. There are some opportunities also for which we need additional information. I'm just going to go through this challenges first. First one is fraud. There is always fraudulent attempts. There could be individual customers who are not disclosing enough information or suppressing some information about the illness and trying to get a cover. But that is That is always there, but that is very minimal compared to some, fraud rackets operating out of certain towns. They'll like submit applications in the form of people who are on deathbed or already, dead. And then in 5-6 months later, there's a claim comes. So you're paying an initial amount of 25,000 as 1 year's premium. And in 6-7 months, there is a claim of 5-6 lakhs as a death claim. So there are rackets operating like that. So it is an industry-wide problem. So the industry has watch list of locations, and there are certain partners, agents. So this is the biggest challenge by the faced by life insurance industry. So to tackle this, we have to have some qualifying mechanism. So for that, we have internal things like there are data triggers, like if mismatch of information, that is internal, but we try to profile the customers. How we profile the customers? One is we try to see what kind of customers come for an early claim based on using analytics. Plus, we try to profile customers based on these locations. We also do this field verification. Actually, if something suspicious is detected, there are agencies who does field verification. They actually go there and check if the customer is alive. They check with neighbors. They check with the nearby hospitals for their any medical history of this client. We have watch list, to tackle this, we have introduced this new process of video verification to make sure the customer is alive. So that is a video sample collected. Customer will have to answer certain questions on video, and this is stored as an evidence. So for profiling of customers, when we profile the customers and we find this customer as a high-risk customer, we can't reject the claim outright. I mean, we can't reject the proposal outright because the basis of this policy issuance is financial and medical underwriting. The risk cannot be used as a reason to reject the policy. But what we can do is we do additional due diligence. So there are additional documents asked for, and maybe field verification or some medical, depending on what is the risk. And there is all these life insurance companies together have a data sharing agreement also. So if one customer, if he's asking for a 50 lakh policy and he is declaring his income, he might be having another 50 lakh policy with another insurance company we don't know about. So our underwriting will be done based on his income and the risk cover he asked for. Now with this data sharing with all the life insurance companies, every day we feed in this details of the new applications which has come, and based on the age, date of birth, name, mobile number, then PAN card, Aadhaar information, they will match the data with all the other life insurance company and give us back this information that this customer has this much life cover in another insurance company, so that we can do our underwriting process accordingly. So that data is shared across life insurance companies. And if some other life insurance company has rejected his proposal based on some medical history, so that also, and he has not disclosed that detail with us, we get to know from this data sharing. So these are so we collect this additional information to tackle this fraudulent activities. Second challenge is persistency. When we say persistency, insurance is a long-term product. It is not paid for 1 year. You have to continue paying till the end of your tenure. So to start with, we have to take quality business. For that, we have some additional measures at the time of, similar to the earlier ones I said. We try to profile the customer. We try to analyze his propensity to lapse or discontinue, so that we can have additional due diligence before we induct the customer, so that he'll continue to pay. The profits of insurance company comes from the persistency. If the customer continues to pay after 3 years, that policy breaks even actually. So the persistency is important. That is also an important KPI for a life insurance company, which IRDA tracks, monitors. The first year and 5th year persistency is the crucial KPI for us. So generally, within 5 years, 50% of the only 50% of the customers are retained by end of 5 years. So if in this particular year, if 1 lakh customers joined us, by end of 5 years, only probably 50,000 of them would be still active with us. So that is a kind of retention in life insurance industry, and every life insurance company is trying every means possible to increase the persistency. So the main thing is the customer should be contactable. So if we relocate to another city, or if we change our mobile number or address, we immediately update the details with our banks. But that's not the case with life insurance company. People don't consider life insurance as a priority service. So many times customer would be continuing to pay, maybe online, but when we try to contact him over phone, he is never reachable. So this is another challenge we face. For this, we keep, for every customer touch point, we try to collect additional information from the customer. It could be emails, because customers who have signed up a policy for 10 years back, probably he wouldn't have given us email. He was not using email at that time. So next touch point, when we try to call the customer, when we approach him for renewals, or when he walks into our branch, we try to collect this information as much as possible at every touch point. And we also use other agencies, third-party resources, to update this customer information. For example, CIBIL. CIBIL will give, we have this agreement with CIBIL, they will give all the information like PAN, phone numbers to us about the customer. So that is something which customer consent is not taken, but we collect this information through third party. So while these three are challenges, there is one opportunity where we need extra data, which is the upsell and cross-sell opportunities. So we again do a profiling of customers who have a propensity to buy a new policy. And we always like to know what life stage the customer is in. Because when he joined us 5 years back, he was single. Now we would like to know what is his marital status. If he has a child, should we be selling a child policy? What is his updated income so that we can sell a higher premium product? So we are always looking for this additional information about the customer, so that we can give, I can say, I mean, providing better service is one option, but there is always this revenue opportunity for the company as well. So for this, we collect this additional information. And so whatever this mentioned, if I club it, data collected at sourcing, this name, age, gender, KYC documents, address, contact details, health information, income details. We also collect family information, like how many children are there in the family, etc. Bank details and the video verification sample. And the data collected subsequently throughout the customer journey, all those financial transactions, contact details collected, call recordings. Call recordings is when we speak to a customer, when we just time for his renewal, the customer service executive calls him, this call is recorded. Incoming calls are recorded, and we always hear that this is that recorded message saying this is used for training on quality purpose. But when we do an outbound calling, it's not, the consent is not usually taken, but we don't, we use the call recordings. One thing is about to assess the quality of the call. Second is when a customer complaint arises, we go back, retrieve this call recording and see what exactly happened, what was interaction at the time of, if there is a complaint. And we also attempt to do some analytics on it, doing a speech to text, so that we can use that information more effectively in profiling the customers. So, so digital behavior is always captured. For digital behavior, if the customer is coming to our website, of course, the cookies policy will be displayed, that is there. But then his financial transaction, when he make payment through online, through any payment gateway, there is no particular policy, or there is no this privacy related consent taken there. Then we collect data from third-party sources. CIBIL I mentioned, credit bureaus I mentioned earlier. We try to buy data so that we can, do the data curing. We can clean up data, add more flags to the customer profile, his social media interactions. We also wanted to collect the social media handles to ask a communication option. If he is not reachable in any of his phone, we wanted to ping him on Facebook. So from analytics point of view, we have all sort of crazy ideas how much data we can collect and how we can use it. And there are some customer contact programs designed just to collect this data, but that is again approaching the customer and collecting it from the customer. So if you look at the data flow, there is at the time of sourcing or underwriting, that is where 90% of the data is collected directly from the customer through the proposal form, and a parallel activity of verification and medical, we get additional information that is at the time of sourcing. And throughout the customer journey, there are customer touch points, inbound as well as outbound. We collect contact details, bank details through this. And there are planned customer outreach programs and third party. There are agencies like Experian and all who will share this customer information. So this is the data flow. So information security measures, like any company who handles this much data, we too have, all the life insurance companies have all the security measures from CIF principles. And when you collect Aadhaar, it goes into a data vault. It is not displayed in any of our systems. A normal service executive will not be able to see that data. Data encryption is there, access control, role-based permissions, regular process review, everything is there. But it is all done from a regulation perspective or a reputation or revenue perspective, because customer data leakage is very important for us, because a competitor should not get the our customers' data. And within the company, you have different channels sourcing from the customer. So one channel's data should not go to the other channel. And there are many instances in life insurance company where employees are sacked for selling customer information. So nobody should be able to download data. So this is all looked at, information security is looked at from a reputation, regulation, or loss of revenue perspective. Privacy has customers, personal information, customer privacy protection has never been a major factor in formulating this information security measures, is what I feel. So if you look at the privacy policy, the current scenario, consent is taken to seek I'll just go to the, this is a consent part of the proposal form. So what I have highlighted in green is where we say that they are providing the consent. So they're providing the consent for the company to seek medical related information from any hospital or a doctor, so that it helps the medical underwriting part of the policy, and for the purpose of underwriting the proposal or claim settlement. Then sharing the information and personal data again for this particular policy for the purpose of underwriting, policy issuance or claim settlement, and with any government or regulatory authority. And they provide the consent to receive communications from the company. Okay, and other communication policy via electronic and physical media, which includes email, SMS. So this is the consent the customer gives even after we collect so much of information, because this is basically looked at from a perspective where the insurance company wants to be to make sure that he has knowingly given this information, but it doesn't provide the information about how far we are going to use this information. So it is always from this declaration is always from because this is also a contract. This proposal form is considered as a contract between the customer and the company. So it is always ensuring the protecting the company's interest. So I just go back to the privacy policy current scenario. So the consent is taken to seek medical information. Consent is taken to receive communication. Many companies, the privacy policy is published on website. It is in alignment with all the major privacy guidelines about the how the data is collected, used, and all. But that explicit consent is not taken, and there is a possibility of cross-border transfer that is not never mentioned to the customer, and because I don't think even the companies are aware that it could be a part of the privacy guideline. Cross-border transfer arises in two cases. One, many companies would have a foreign partner, data can be shared. There is a concept called reinsurer. So the reinsurance companies share the risk of the insurance companies. So it is like a B2B. So there are companies like Swiss Re, Munich Re, all foreign companies. They have their operations are in India, but there is a chance of a cross-border transfer when there is a reinsurance. And when we collect insurance customer information from third-party sources, it is without consent. Then there is no clarity on retention of data, because again, one policy can continue for 20 years, 25 years. And after maturity, we may have to store it for legal requirements for another 5 years. But this has never discussed in a life insurance company so far, in my experience, how long we can retain data, because we want to retain as much data as possible for as long as possible. And maturity, customers whose policies have matured as hot property, because that is where most of the upsell and cross-sell happens. So that's that data we would not think of, anonymizing the data or pseudonymizing the data, because this data we actually use to cross-sell. And then all the third-party associates, there are a lot of associates, like there are printing vendors, call center is outsourced, medical networks who coordinate the medical examinations, then verification investigation agencies, data curing agencies, then all this IT service providers. Everybody handles the customer's personal information. There is an NDA, but this privacy is not necessarily a part of that contract. This is a current scenario. I've shown this. And if a life insurance company is a significant data fiduciary because of the sensitive information collected and the large number of clients that these companies have, if you want to have a customer-centric privacy policy, when there has to be a transparency in the collection, disclosure, and retention, then explicit consent wherever required is to be collected. Focusing on customer rights, that is never mentioned in any of the, generally not in the privacy policy, because we are always protecting the company's interest. Managing children's data. So there are policies taken in the for children, but since it is a contract between the company and the customer, and the minor cannot enter into a contract, even if a policy is in the child's name, it is the parent who's usually asked the proposer who signs it. But still, the children's data is collected and stored. Then increased scope of data breach and harm evaluation. So whenever we talk about data leakage, we would not have considered what is the harm to the customer. In case of a data breach, we would have already always concerned about that reputation or revenue. So that increased scope there, and separating the information required for providing the basic service and what are the enhanced customer service or value addition, that has to be separated. And bringing customer personal data collected through other sources. I mentioned the agencies like CIBIL. That also has to come into the privacy policy ambit, and including the third-party associates into the privacy framework. So right now, what is the life insurance company's privacy policy is looking like? And this is what I feel, if you have to make it a customer-centric privacy policy, these are the measures probably we need to look into. Okay, that's all I wanted to discuss. I wish if any of you would add to this last slide based on whatever information I shared on the customer data. Maybe if you can help me to add on to this slide, it would be nice. So that's all. Thank you.
That's good, Manju. You have actually highlighted the complexities of the life insurance industry. We keep on talking about privacy, but if it comes to practice, there are so many challenges. So probably we need to work on how to ensure that a complex industry like in LIC, life insurance will still be compliant with the legislation.
Yes.
I'm reasonably confident that there is enough flexibility in the law so that you can develop a legitimate interest policy to take care of most of the requirements like data retention for decades, which is required. The only thing is the upselling and other things you were talking about, that comes under pure marketing, where
Yes.
there will be an explicit consent requirement. But you can always say there are financial benefits for new policies or extension, and therefore I think customers will be happy to provide that consent. Most of the other things like for underwriting requirements, whatever information you require and even the profiling which you do, I think all that can come under legitimate interest. I don't know what others feel. I personally feel that they um, should we should be able to understand the requirements of the insurance industry and therefore recognize that many of the risks which you are talking of should be covered as legitimate interest. Yeah, that's. Have got any other thoughts, Anil and Satya?
Yeah, I agree to Navi sir that for underwriting purpose, the legitimate interest can be included in that policy and say, okay, this is why it is required to do all this data. But for cross-selling or upselling or for any other marketing purpose, I believe there has to be a consent management process to say, okay, this is how we want to or we wish to use the data. And that consent can be obtained right at the data collection time, or my thinking is probably when the data is to be used, that time we can approach the customer and probably obtain the consent that we want to use this same data which we have collected for this, for the next purpose.
According to our current ITA 2000, there is a need for renewal of data, which is also a kind of renewal of the consent. Okay, Information Technology Act itself says that you need to actually get confirmation. In data protection law, we call it as quality of data to be upgraded or something like that. So that is an exercise which has to be done by industries like insurance, where you have to keep on the information for 10, 20 years. So maybe an annual cycle of say updation of address, I think has to be done. But I think at the time of premium collection, it happens automatically. But if the premium has been paid for a long time, there is no contact between the insurance company and the customer. Therefore,
sometimes customer is not contactable, but he is paying somewhere. If he is walking into a branch, there they will be collecting the details, but he might be paying online. So we don't come face to face with him. The payment is coming, but he's not contactable.
If the premium payment is there, there is a kind of renewal of contact. But where the premium payment is not every year, if it is a long-term payment made or one-time payment, nowadays policies are there for one-time payment for 10 years, no? Okay. So in such cases, it will be necessary to have this renewal of consent, come updation of address as a process.
Okay. So considering that every company would be having 20 lakh plus customers.
Yes.
So that is.
But that is 20 lakhs plus business, no?
So, Manju is looking at administrative overheads of keeping the data current always. So.
Yeah, there is always this debate between these two, like balancing act. It is a balancing act. One side, the teams responsible for this renewal revenue is always for spending and somehow collecting this information, updating. And there is another side who's thinking about this overheads. Yes.
So insurance industry pays a high level of commission for marketing. Maybe part of that will have to go for this data updation, so that it becomes the agent's responsibility to ensure that the data updation and other
Data
thing
is
happens,
updated,
because
yes.
you are anyway paying him commission with a very premium. Okay. So I think you should perhaps think of making better use of the insurance agents as your extended arms for data protection related activities.
But now, most of insurance companies like ICICI, Lombard, they are giving option to the policy holders to update themselves. Now,
Yes, that option is there online. They can do it is a self-service
is-
option to update.
Customers awareness is important in this
Yes,
respect.
customer awareness is important. Yes.
So if we give agent again, the data get exposed to agents also.
Yes.
That is a problem. And one more thing is Manju. Now between the policy holder and the insurance company, we have TPAs. But
Between a
the
policy holder and an insurance company?
TPA, third party assurance
Yeah.
service holders, TPA agencies.
Yes.
Is
They usually handle the medical requirements.
the medical field. So
Yes.
the life insurance company, they do they do the due diligence of the TPAs? Or is it not
Yes,
their respect?
yes. There is an onboarding process where they do the due diligence about the third party. There's an onboarding process
That will
where
time of onboarding fine, but subsequently they long term every year they do some due diligence. Whether the TPA,
yes. So it also depends on that quality of the work they do. It is kind of renewed every year. So the quality parameters are considered while renewing that contract. So because we take customer feedback also.
TPA is actually accredited to the IRDA, you know.
right? I get accredited.
So there is an accreditation process also for TPAs, I suppose.
IRDA controlling TPS also, but what is the responsibility in the insurance company with respect to the data? Because ultimately the data owner is the insurance company.
Yes.
TPA is only a channel.
Yes.
So what is the TPS integrity in handling the data for the point of insurance company? That's what I want to find out from her.
So right now there is always an NDA. Other than that, they are not included in the privacy policy. But then the quality of the service and the customer feedback is considered while renewing the policy.
Okay.
Hi Manju. Hi Manju, this is SPR. Yeah. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Good evening. Yeah.
I have a question for you. Okay. Recently, what happened? I switched to another insurance company. Okay. I filled up my data over there, got my policy, and within half an hour, I got a call from their agent that next time when you renew, please call us. We will renew it. How it is possible? Are you sharing? Do these companies share their data with their brokers immediately? Within
No,
half an hour, he called me.
If you have sourced through a broker, then he will have your information.
I source it directly, actually.
Okay. So no, actually, we would not be sharing that data. As a process, we would not be sharing that data unless you have signed for this repositories. There are certain repositories where IRDA authorized repositories. If you have signed up for that, your information will go in that. There are vendors who manage it. So it is like a vault where you can keep all your insurance policies in one place. Otherwise, if you have sourced it directly online, another agent should not be getting the data.
And even agent, if I'm getting it renewed via an agent, why should one agent should share can say his customers with another? Okay. My question, second question is that. Okay, but within half an hour, I got a call. Oh, you have just renewed your policy with this company, and then next time when you are there to renew, please call us.
It should not happen. It should not happen. One agent's data is not shared as per process, but always there can be nexus between agents and some customer executive.
There is something actually which I wanted to highlight. Actually.
Beyond the process.
That was a big surprise for me as well. Okay, I kept on thinking how so quickly he got my number, and then he knew that I have just renewed my policy. with this company. Okay, so that was quite a big surprise for me as well.
Okay. This is not a callback like we get if you are searching for a, looking for a policy code to renew your vehicle insurance, and immediately the agent, and you don't complete the process online, then immediately their agent calls. You're not referring to any of that, right? That is a process actually. If you are trying to get a quote online, but you didn't, complete the process. You didn't purchase the insurance there.
Yeah,
But their agent with that, their customer service executive will immediately call you. You didn't complete your process. Would you require any assistance?
No, that was not the case. That was a broking agency actually.
That is directly from the.
I completed it. I got my policy, and once I got my policy, after half an hour, I got this call.
Sir, there can be, Levi here, there can be a number of probabilities in your case. Even the document delivery means courier agencies, they do share this sort of data. Your bank where you have paid the premium, even that data can be leaked from the bank also. So there can be a number of ways from where this sort of data can be leaked. Means in case of credit card delivery, once the card is delivered to the customer, he receives the call because that is outsourced, or I'm not directly blaming somebody, but it is sourced from some courier agency to the racketers, and they purchase this particular data. So there cannot be exact one point from where data can be manipulated, but there are a number of sources, because this is just out of experience what we are doing in this particular legal and investigation field. We come to know that data is compromised from these many locations also. So in your case, maybe the courier company or maybe the bankers where you have paid the premium, or there can be certain other agencies to say online you have completed the activity. Through that particular search engine also data would have been compromised. So there can be a number of possibilities.
Dr. Lume, in this case, I don't demand physical policy. I always demand electronic policy, and then that electronic policy was delivered on my mail ID. Okay, and then even on WhatsApp number, and then there was no physical delivery at all. And it's
so WhatsApp itself is the biggest cheater. So it has been outsourced through WhatsApp. Now the answer is very clear.
So whatever it is, okay, whatever it is, what I am trying to highlight here is that your data is not even safe with the insurance company. It is leaked out to the third parties quickly, so quickly.
That is the reality.
Yes,
that is the reality, no doubt.
Yes, sir. Yeah. So so Manju, excellent presentation. So one point, or one query that I have. So you mentioned about one central database, through which the insurance companies exchange information, right? Like so from the law perspective, DPA perspective, that upcoming DPA perspective, is there a provision like this that for say banking, all the banks can use a shared information, or all the insurance companies can use a shared information? Is there
so right now it is IRDA aware of it. IRDA approval is there to share this, because it is the Life Insurance Council, which is all the life insurance companies together are sharing. And second thing is they are not sharing any contact information, contact details or anything. So if we share this particular customer details, the algorithm will match it and say he has got this many lakhs life cover with this company with say it is in a rejected state, or it is in a lapse state, or it is active state. So this is the information. And when when this DPA comes in place, we may have to review this. I don't know what would be the scope of this, but right now it is regulatory approval is there because it is helping the industry per se to improve the quality and reduce fraud. So that is the purpose right now. So when DPA comes, probably it might be reviewed. And within the organizations who use the information, it is on a need to know basis, it is shared. So as an analytics person, if I ask for it, I can get the data without the customer information. just status, probably status of that policy, his life cover, and the underwriters get it on a need to know basis. It is not available for everyone in the organization to view. It is not shared like that, disclosed like that. But your point, yes, when DPA comes, probably it might be reviewed. Or,
Okay, thank you.
And this kind of cross-selling, right? Is it as per what is the correct position as far as the Indian law is concerned as of now, Navi sir? When we look at in due course of our auditing of companies, where we look at the privacy policies in India, it is very common to see that a very generic kind of a consent is taken, which includes a broad range of categories that the company can do for analytics purposes. They might say, we may share your data with these 10 companies, we can use it for this purpose, that purpose, and all these things. Is that kind of a single shot broad approval for sharing data, is it legally allowed, or what's the position here really?
If it is a non-sensitive personal data, like only the contact detail, like an email, maybe the broad consent will still be okay. But if it is containing any sensitive personal information, like then perhaps you need explicit consent. Maybe others can add if they have any other viewpoint.
Well, I read that while going deeper into GDPR, I came across some article there which says that as far as GDPR is concerned, this kind of broad-based consent, generic consent, is definitely not valid.
No, it's a question of what is the data which you're having.
Okay.
See, if you have to segregate personal
Say it's
data.
a mobile number. Say it's a mobile number. It's a personally identifiable
okay.
data.
So,
Yeah.
no, say the question is whether mobile number should be considered as sensitive personal data. Okay. Is it a unique ID? If you think it's a unique ID, then it's difficult. I have only made a mention of the email address. Okay. Yeah, which is the most generic contact detail. If you can segregate the consent for sharing the email address only as distinguished from others, it may be possible to take a deemed consent for the email address sharing, which goes into cross-selling. Now, beyond that, the recipient of the information does not need all the data. Let him collect it again if he wants. If he is going to actually sell some other product, there is no need for all the data collected by the first company to be shared with the second company, unless it is a subsidiary or something like that. So I think if you segregate it like that, you may be able to use it. But if you don't segregate it, then you may be talking of a consent for even sensitive personal information, or because of the combination of multiple sensitive personal data, the collage may become sensitive because it leads to profiling. See, if I give you only email address, then perhaps I can say that with the email address alone, you cannot do any much of profiling. But if I give that email address along with 10 other parameters, then there can be an argument that it becomes sensitive. That is, a combination of non-sensitive personal information may become sensitive because of the potential harm it may cause. Though it may not have a Aadhaar number or something like that, because the sensitivity of information should be linked to the potential harm that may be caused, and potential harm will be more if more number of data parameters are shared. So that is where perhaps you can say that non-sensitive personal information becomes sensitive personal information if it is a combination of too many parameters. I'm only talking in subjective terms. GDPR, of course, has got a lot of things. It is a different ball game altogether, because there the supervisory authority of each country has got their own norms. So it is better to follow GDPR separately. The Indian law may be a little more, say, flexible. And even in the case of GDPR, have you ever tried this segregation of data as personal non-sensitive data and sensitive personal data and taking separately the consents. We are only talking of one parameter called email address. Now, suppose I want to market the email address of my clients. If for cross-selling purpose, I can seek the consent of the customer saying that I may provide your contact address, and maybe I will assure that there is some kind of beneficial products, and that product should have some relationship, so that there is you should be able to, for example, show that, say, like your computer, printer kind of a thing. If you are a buyer of a computer, it is possible that you may be happy to get an offer for a printer or something like that. So in such circumstances, that is where there is a relationship between the first product and the second product. There may be views, situations where you can construct the consent form in such a manner that you should be able to navigate through this maze. That's just a thought. On a case-to-case basis, perhaps you will have to look at it. Yeah, Subraido.
Yes, sir. That's what.
I'm giving you a way of satisfying your customers. Okay.
Actually, a lot of companies are coming which are present in India, are looking to provide their services in US and the UK and all, and they also make claims that we are GDPR compliant. But when you go to their website and read the privacy policy and the kind of clauses that are kept there, one wonders how could these fellows even ever claim that they are compliant with GDPR when these kind of statements and terms and conditions are described in the privacy policy on the website. And they also confirmed that it's the same version of the privacy policy that is available throughout the world. It's not that there are different versions being displayed in the US and different versions being displayed in UK.
Yeah, and also you saw that Manju was showing the proposal form with 70 or 80, 90 lines, and many of them actually have to be explicit consent. So there has to be a separate tick for each of those items. It cannot be just printed, and maybe telecom companies also use such very omnibus kind of application forms. So those are the things which perhaps need some kind of a change. It increases the cost of collection of data because you have to sit. See, most of the time we are used to signing at the end of the page and let the company just file it. Okay. Now, really speaking, that will not be possible. Each line at least has to be read and ticked. So that is what's going to increase the cost to some extent. Yeah. Any other point? So thank you, Manju. I think it was a very interesting session, and it has perhaps triggered the thoughts amongst people of how complex business situations need to be handled as far as this DPA is concerned. As of now, of course, we are only having GDPR, but I don't know whether companies are being asked to be GDPR compliant for Indian data. I don't know whether that is really called GDPR compliance. So GDPR wants you to be compliant in respect of data collected in EU. But many times when they say, are you GDPR compliant? You respond as if that GDPR compliance applies to Indian data. So if you are not having the EU data, I think you can still answer you are GDPR compliant because you don't have GDPR data. Okay, so if you understand the application of these data protection laws, then perhaps it is easier to respond, I suppose. Okay, thank you, Manju.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. Good night.